Hi everyone, welcome back to our video. This is Sherwin, I'm Jason, and
Hello.
today we shall be talking about two new launches that's upcoming. One is Springleaf Residence and the other will be Canberra Crescent Residences. So we're going to do a comparison and our thoughts on which project we think it's something worth considering.
Okay, we have an overview over here, but before we begin, right, why we decide to compare these two projects, right? Firstly, it's because it's launching almost at similar timing. So we believe buyers that are looking to buy in that particular area, they will not just look at Springleaf itself, but they will also look at Canberra Residences. So when will they be launching the both of them?
So Springleaf will be launching on 1st August for previews, and then Canberra Residences, I think next weekend, which is about late July.
So the
Pretty much
runway
around the same time.
runway for Canberra is pretty short. They announced and they should have been launched already.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you are wanting to view Canberra, it'll be good to view Springleaf as a comparison. And that is what we are trying to achieve in this video today, to give you more information and our thoughts. And at the end, right, Jason and I will both pick a project which we will buy into.
Yes.
They will.
Yes.
Yeah. So why we compare? Because similar launch date, similar location. Transformation benefit is the same. They are all in the northern region.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they are both slated to be the cheapest new launch of
Yes.
2025 lah. So if you see all the new launches hitting 2000, 2001 PSF, they might be the one that is just slightly below. Okay, we don't know yet. We are just estimating. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Canberra is touted to be the cheapest for 2025, and then Springleaf is touted to be the cheapest new launch for 2025 that's nearest to the MRT station.
okay.
Yeah. It's 2 minutes walk.
Okay, so both are cheap in their own way.
Yes.
Okay. So let's begin with the transformation, because they are both very similar, right? In the north area, the northern gateway, they share pretty much a similar aspect to all the past condo, the past 1-2 years condo that are being launched. But we will still touch on it. If you look at this entire transformation map over here, right, part of our government decentralization plan, Springleaf and Canberra falls into the northern gateway, and they are somewhat between Yishun and Seletar, that area.
So they will basically be benefiting from anything from the Punggol Digital District and then all the way to your Sungai Kadut Eco District. So of course, the master plan just came out, right? And we know that Woodlands is actually one of the main regional centers that the government has plans installed. You know, so also of course Woodlands, we all know that the RTS is coming up. So RTS is going to be coming up, I think, by end of 2027, and then with that, there's actually also a linkage in JB. JB itself, they have another linkage which is going to be linking JB to KL. So in future, residents who are staying in the north, they can basically go for a meeting in KL, a day trip, and then come back down. So in the morning, you start off the day, you take a RTS short journey ride to JB, and then from there you switch trains, you take the JB train all the way to KL. It's just a 2 hours journey, and then you have your meetings there, and then you can take the train back, and you can be back by night.
Other than that, there's a lot of focus on the Johor and Singapore special economic zone, which is mentioned in a lot of newspaper article and HSBC as well. And we see our government focus in this area is quite huge. So that will be one of the main transformation in the north. The other one which we can take note of will be the Sembawang North area, because as we all know, and Jason mentioned earlier on, for the draft master plan this year, right, 2025, they're actually shifting away the Sembawang shipyard and going to introduce new housing area and housing supply in that area itself. So it was all over the news as well lah. And this is very, very near to where Canberra Crescent will be at, which is one of the new launch. So if you're talking about like first mover advantage or one of the first few condo being in the area, witnessing the transformation, this could be an opportunity lah.
Yeah. So of course, then separately, if we are talking about Springleaf, then for Springleaf, we are also pretty near, just one stop away from Lentor. So we all know that Lentor has a whole group of new condos, and that whole area is going to be also a new township that the government has planned installed.
The Lentor and Springleaf, they are the same developer, right? They have like
Yes,
a master
yes.
Like, is it a master
I
developer?
mean, loosely, we do term that, Guaco is kind of like the master developers for the Lentor area because they have
Monopolized.
monopolized most of the plots there,
They
right?
really try to buy out all the land in the Lentor.
Yeah, so interestingly to note as well, hearsay is that for Springleaf, right, we all, if you are aware, Springleaf has Parcel A and Parcel B. So currently the one for sale will be Parcel B. Parcel A previously, when the government actually launched, there were no bidders for it. But it's no bidders not because it's not popular, but no bidders because the government was also testing out something new. They actually included this service apartment concept in that area. But of course, because of that, I think there was quite a lot of risk involved. So I think developers decided to go for the more conservative route. Fast forward to today, the government has actually removed this requirement. So the next time when Springleaf Parcel A plots comes up for GLS again, actually hearsay is that the developers for Springleaf B plot, they are going to go full force to also
Because it's
secure
a more
A.
full residential area.
Yeah, and then with them securing A, then in a sense, they are also protecting its price preservation as well, strategy-wise.
So you can be sure that Parcel B will definitely be more expensive than Parcel A.
Okay, I wouldn't say that, but I think at the very least, they would definitely take Parcel B's price, Springleaf Residences price, into consideration before they.
As a baseline.
Yes, as a baseline too.
At least it wouldn't be priced.
And in any case, there's only going to be two parcels in that area.
Okay,
Yeah.
A and B.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the grand scheme of things, the thing that have already kickstarted, right, is Punggol Digital District. So you look at all the Northern Gateway planning. Some of them are ongoing, some of them will be in the future, and Punggol Digital District has already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the need for housing in the area, the demand is still there to support all the business infrastructure, because it cannot be a case where they build everything ready, then they start to have housing. By that time, it will be too late already.
Yeah.
So along the way, government will plan the housing based on the number of jobs created to at least meet that level of demand. Yeah. Okay. And we will dive into the project details for both. What we do is we just flash out, right, a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah.
So at least you know what to look out for. Okay.
So just take note, this is, some of them have not been cast in stone yet. It's still subject to approval. So this is really just a preliminary info that we have. So of course you can see Springleaf is almost 3 times the size of Canberra, right? In terms of the number of units, Springleaf has a total of 941 units, and then Canberra has about 376 units. Interestingly to note, of course, for Springleaf is that it's going to be a very tall kind of development with 5 blocks of up to 25 stories. And then uniquely, they have this very unique concept, which I have not seen in many developments, is that they have a requirement to preserve the former Upper Thomson Secondary School building. So that's going to be a short block. So, and there are going to be residences there, your function areas are also there. And then it faces a quadrangle, So if you know what that is, so it's a bit like a parade square. And then you're going to have a jogging track.
Then morning, buffet, margarita.
So it's going to be a very like a school fight. So because of that also, I visited the Springleaf Show Flat. It's a very, very stunning kind of development where they have done the design to be synonymous with the school building. And you're going to get this rustic look that blends together with the forest that they are actually located very near to. Then for Canberra residences, Canberra Crescent residences, it's going to be shorter blocks up to only 12 stories due to the height restrictions that we have there. So we have still 4 blocks, and what's unique about Canberra Crescent residences for them is that they have orientated the 4 blocks such that they never look into each other.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's a bit of an L-shaped plot, if you could see from the site plan. So the shorter part of the L-shaped block is actually where all your facilities are located, and it's quite an expensive area in terms of greenery and water features.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the facilities are all on the top right-hand corner.
Yes, top right-hand corner. Of course, you still have the main swimming pool together with where the blocks are, but your function rooms and all the other water features mainly will be located that area. So, it's something that I think would be quite nice.
Just very curious. For Springleaf residences, sorry, out of it. That track, right? Is it 400 meters? No, lah, not that big. Lah.
I don't think it's 400 meters. Maybe,
Okay.
but it's really your typical school running track.
yeah,
So very, very school vibes.
Yeah, that's very unique. Lah. Because we do see there are some condos in Singapore where they preserve a certain heritage building or they revamp it. Like, for example, was Avenue South. They have those low stories, right?
Yes.
They redo into, which is a very nice view.
Yes.
Like a 2-bedroom, 900 square feet.
Yes.
Yeah, so they preserve that look. Lah. So, nice seeing Springleaf over here. But from the looks of it, just from the site plan itself, Springleaf will have more greeneries and, correct me if I'm wrong, a better view front and back.
Yeah, so definitely. So for Springleaf, right, I would say views all around, I would say 75% to 80% of the views all around will be amazing because we are actually on higher ground than the opposite side of Upper Thomson Road. So that side is where all your landed enclave is. So of course, none of the buildings face that direction. But if you look at where all the buildings are facing, you either face internally where you face all the features of the development. Otherwise, the developers have very intelligently oriented the buildings to face either your Springleaf Forest or even though they face the expressway, but once past the expressway, it is also going to be a forested area. So Springleaf is really your ultimate of what you call green living. And previously, it's very peaceful. So previously, if let's say, because I am very familiar with Eco Sanctuary, this is also where the developers did the building that's very near to the Chestnut Area Nature Reserve.
Dairy farm.
Yes, dairy farm. So when you face the forest, right, it's just amazing. In the morning, you actually wake up to this very misty
the
green
smell.
forest. And the smell of the fresh air. And generally, when you live next to the greenery, like a very forested area, you do get more cooling temperatures. Yeah, so
I think they designed it that way as well,
Yes.
purposefully.
Yes. So, however, let's say if you are not less of a nature person and you want like more day-to-day amenities, then of course, Canberra Crescent Residences, something that you can consider because you'll be surrounded by many HDB clusters. In fact, they are the newer clusters. So, visually you also see something nice. And right in front of you is also like the landed enclave for Canberra Crescent Residences. And also surrounding you, just take note, there will be, it's not up yet, but it's educational plots. So, depending on whether you're okay living next to schools, some people value school, some people don't want to hear Marikita every morning. Yeah, so depends.
Okay, sorry, so Springleaf residents, right, they have this one row of like Kit Kat facing the school compound.
Yes, so that will be the conserve building, and that is where you have all your 1-bedder, 2-bedder, 3-bedder. So interestingly, Springleaf only has 8 1-bedder units, and they are all located within the school compound. So for the hippies, yes, only 8 1-bedder units. So again, Springleaf developers, I think it has been quite something that we see also from the Lentor side where they really place a focus on livability and they feel that what's necessary, perhaps more realistic for homestayers would be 2-bedders. Yeah, so largely they try and focus more on 2-bedders, 3-bedders, 4-bedders, that kind of unit type, even 5-bedders.
So upfront from the site plan, it is very clear the type of buyer that will buy Springleaf and the type of buyer that will buy Canberra Residences.
They are very different, I would say. Springleaf will be more of nature lovers. I have clients who swear that, because they are so stressed at work, when they go back home, they actually want to just see nature and don't see concrete jungle. Yeah, so then they would probably prefer something like Springleaf.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this over here, which is the view of Springleaf itself, which Jason just mentioned. So
you can see, right, like about 75% is actually all greenery.
Front, back, left, right is all greenery. Okay, right side is landed. But this also highlights not really a disadvantage, but something you have to take note, which is very different from Canberra. Just the amenities like you don't have your coffee shop downstairs and everything.
Yes, but your views will never change. And of course, to be fair, Springleaf opposite the shop house, you have many food options also.
Most famous is Springleaf Prata.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for the facts and details. Moving on will be the unit type for Springleaf and Canberra Residences. As Jason mentioned earlier on, right, 1-bedroom only 8 units for Springleaf Residences, but Canberra Residences, there's only 3 units.
So for Springleaf residences, actually, I've seen the show flat. Show flat displays the 646 square feet two-bedder units. We'll touch on the floor plans in a bit. I'm really, really impressed. I mean, I've seen many show flats to have a two-bedder living space. If I don't tell you it's 646 square feet, I believe a lot of people cannot tell. The living space is amazing wall-to-wall distance, 3.1 meters. I mean, in your experience,
The usual is like
typical
2.6.
2.6 to 2.8. I think Blossoms is 2.6 thereabouts. And then typical condos in the recent times, they are all about 2.8. Very standard 2.8 for two-bedder dumbbell layout.
I think you have to go down and see, because when we're talking about dumpers, right, it doesn't really make sense, but the visual impact when you enter the house and it opens up wide.
Yes.
Instead of opening up narrow, there's a huge difference.
Yes.
And you will feel more at home lah. So the focus for itself, majority I would say for Canberra as well, they place less emphasis on the 1-bedroom unit type.
And you know what's amazing too? So if you look at the conserve building for Springleaf residences at 592 square feet, typically what would your take be if it's a 592 square feet kind of unit size? What kind of unit type?
2 bed, 1 bar,
Yeah, so it's usually 2 bed, 1 bar for 1 bed plus study, right? But this 592 square feet is actually a 2 bed, 2 bar.
Okay.
Yeah. So they managed to very efficiently utilize the space to create a 592 square feet 2 bed, 2 bar for you. So I would say developers really take into consideration very effective space planning. Take note, of course, both projects are post-harmonization projects, so aircon latch is not included in the space.
So if you include it, it'll be around like 670, 660, that kind of size.
Yeah, so I would typically throw in an additional about 50 square feet kind of aircon latch space, because typically aircon latches, I would say, ranges from between 5 to 7, sometimes even 9 square meters, depending on how kind the developer is for, the pre-harmonization layouts.
Okay. Then they focus a lot on, I think, family stay, family planning for the area. And with that, we can go to the floor plan first, since we are at the unit type. This is the 646 square feet, which Jason mentioned previously. Dumbbell layout. One thing good is when you come in, you don't straight away come into your living area. Because the living room area is wider, right? So they can shift the living room slightly to the side a bit. So at least there's more privacy when you're walking in. And the kitchen is tucked at a corner.
Yes. So typically now we see a lot of this kind of a little nook kitchen area. So what this enables you to do is, if you really need to, you can do a bit of like a glass sliding door system to enclose the area for cooking purposes. Otherwise, you can also have it as open concept. But even though it's open concept, when you're either in your living or your dining area, it is not going to be a case where you see the kitchen, it's tucked away. Yeah, and then of course you see one is 646 with 3.1. So then you can see my point. So Canberra Crescent residences, the wall-to-wall distance is about 2.8. That's a very typical dumbbell kind of layout. Then you also see how the dining area is placed. For Springleaf residences, you actually have a larger and better dining area placement. Whereas for Canberra Crescent residences, even though they try and create this kind of like a study area, which is good, but at the same time, you will compromise a little bit on your dining space. It basically also is your kitchen island.
I think it's the layout efficiency, but in terms of space usage wise, it feels that Springleaf 2-bedder, it's more efficient in their usage of space, even though it's smaller, because just from the floor plan itself, you will feel that Springleaf is the bigger unit.
Yes.
But in actual fact, Canberra Crescent is actually the bigger one, by around 30 square feet. Yeah, but they do have this like, sort of an L-shaped kitchen at the corner.
Yeah, so point to take note is actually in terms of size-wise, master bedroom size, bedroom 2 size, they are actually on paper similar.
Oh, for both?
Yes, for both. So
I think the main difference will still be the
living space, how they have
living and kitchen, but means they really stretch the living for Canberra Crescent.
So do you also see something very unique for both projects as compared to past projects in the floor plan here?
Unique in the floor plan?
Yes.
You mean Is it the walls?
Yes, it's the wall. So I'm also very excited about this because, for the longest time, we always have been using this PPVC method, right? So right now, developers moving forward, they have the new method of building their walls. So you can see these walls, they are actually hackable.
Okay.
So they are actually hackable so that, for young families, let's say it's just
Customization.
couples, they really can customize. They can subsume the common bedroom to be part of the living area and then remove that wall or make it glass. And then the wardrobe is not there also, so there's no issue removing that wall. So then it gives you a very nice...
You have a 5-meter living room.
Yeah, it's a very nice living room space, with full height windows. I mean, okay, not full height windows. So a little thing to take note since I'm touching on that is that for Springleaf residences, because we're very close to the nature, developers have also taken a lot of the design concept into consideration when they do the layout type. So if you remember Lentor Mansion as well, it was very popular, quite a high percentage sold on launch weekend. They are Guoco bringing back the same kind of design concept into your Springleaf floor plan. So you get like about 3/4 kind of windows, full height. Of course, the sliding door will remain sliding door, it's going to be full height, but the windows in the 2 bedrooms, they are going to be a bit like a 3/4 kind of concept.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least you get a view lah.
Yeah, you still get a view. No issues with that, but it's also to preserve and protect nature. So that's what the developers shared with us.
Okay. And both the developer are quite sensitive about the facing and everything because I see most of them are like north-south facing, most of the units.
Yeah. Most of the units are north-south facing. So touching a bit again on your design concept, because I've viewed Springleaf, is that because they have to incorporate the school, right? So we all know that old school, what do they look like? Typically, you have like whitewash walls, but then the side of the walls, you have this very nice brick-like look.
Okay, yeah.
So for Springleaf, all the blocks, the side of the walls, they also do this kind of brick-like look. And to make it even more nature-inspired and more one with nature, they have like hanging gardens.
So they infuse all the
really
nature
use
element.
greenery, nature element into all the blocks. So you get a very nice, welcoming green view when you actually step in. And then Springleaf, if you look at the site plan, it has 2 drop-off points. So one of the drop-off points is like a bit, in my opinion, is whether you like it or not, a bit like being dropped off.
In the jungle.
No. You're being dropped off to go to school,
Okay.
At the quadrangle you drop off, then you up the steps and then you see
school
Parade
compound.
Square, the school compound.
Then the 3 flags over there.
But no flags. No flags.
Okay, yeah. So now moving on will be the 3-bedroom.
yes.
All these are the show unit type, which you will see.
Of course, there are many other unit types available.
Yeah, but we are just taking as comparison. So the 3-bedroom will be the 900 square feet 3-bedroom. Similarly, Springleaf residences will be slightly smaller by 90 square feet, the one which we are drawing into comparison. And one thing you would note coming in, which are similar, they have a 玄关 a small pathway, not very long, no wastage, but it leads to your living room area.
Yes.
So privacy and some for feng shui reason. And one thing that I noticed from here is Canberra Crescent has bomb shelter. And for Springleaf, it's not a bomb shelter, it's a flexible area, which both can be converted into a helper's room or just a storeroom by itself.
Of course, as you mentioned, because just a side note, because this is 904 square feet, so of course they can pack only so many things inside. But to be on point, right? 904 square feet, they not only give you 3 bedrooms, your typical 3-bed with 2 bathrooms, they also created this flex space, a very nice space where it's really usable space that has linkage access from your kitchen as well as linkage access to the living space. So I would say this flex space, the wall is hackable, right? One of the walls is hackable. You can utilize this to either be a study area or bar area or even a helper's area if you need to, or a storage area. So it's really up to you how you want to do it.
Okay, if I were to look at a side-by-side comparison like this, right, advantages for Canberra Crescent is it offers more flexibility because when it comes to hacking the wall, the study area for Canberra Crescent, you can just hack off everything, right? They have a very huge L-shaped living and dining area because you already have a bomb shelter. So the study is, if you need, if you don't need, you can just hack it off. So that space itself, if I'm a family of 3 with a helper, that might be more livable for me in terms of space usage. Maybe because of the additional 90 square feet as well. They are be able to afford to squeeze out one more bomb shelter.
Yes.
Because for the kitchen wise, they both have a wet and dry kitchen, separating with a glass door, and which leads into the WC and that study area. So in terms of customization, Canberra Crescent will have that upper hand, because if you look at the bedroom itself, not talking about the view with view being aside, the bedroom itself and the bathroom, it all looks pretty similar, and in the size as well.
But of course, like I said, because Springleaf, what we are showing is just the show unit.
They have the bigger type.
So they do have the bigger type that can be on par with Canberra Crescent as well. It's just that this one is to show you that, even an entry-level 3-bedder is actually very livable today for Springleaf. And also another thing that I would say would be that for Springleaf residences at 904 square feet, if we look at from a price point perspective, of course later on we haven't really touched on price, but later on we'll touch on price. A 900 versus a 990 square feet, almost 100 square feet difference. Actually, premium wise, there will be a substantial premium.
If you take 2000 PSF.
Yeah, if you take about 1009, 2000 PSF range.
Then,
Yeah, so maybe about close to 200,000. So then my question is, if you want an entry-level 3-bedder, which is only 2 minutes walk to the MRT station,
it's
then,
200,000 worth paying for bomb shelter.
yeah. So if I price it like, Sherwin, will you pay 200,000 for bomb shelter? Then maybe it'll be different.
Not lah. Okay,
Yeah.
but we will touch again because this is the interesting part, which we want to draw this comparison. Because Springleaf is not selling at the price of Canberra.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. So that argument back and forth, it really depends on
Yes.
your ultimate needs, what you value in property itself, and whether that premium is worth paying for.
Yeah, so in fact, sorry to interrupt, but if I just backtrack a little bit back to the 2-bedder, right? Because the Canberra 2-bedder is 667 square feet and the Springleaf 2-bedder is 646 square feet. Of course, you even have the 592 square feet option. And even though we know that Springleaf is going to be slightly more expensive than Canberra, but at the end in terms of the PSF, right? In terms of the PSF, Springleaf is slightly more expensive than Canberra, but because the overall square footage is slightly smaller, so it kind of balances out.
Do you think
the
developer purposely do this to make it competitive?
Yes, so I believe the developer might even potentially be able to say, hey, on quantum level as a price play, right? Our Springleaf residences is comparable as the cheapest new launch.
So their selling angle would be at really just beside MRT, 2 minutes walk with a very efficient layout. It's able to compete with Canberra residences.
Yes.
Then they throw it to you, everything is there already.
Yeah.
Like apple to apple, you decide, then based on what you value.
Yeah, then to me, Springleaf is like...
I can tell that you are a Springleaf.
Yes.
At least for a 2-bedroom now.
Yeah, at least for the 2-bedroom, because I was really very impressed by the 2-bedroom. Then,
actually,
if I tell you, like,
as well,
Canberra is a bit of like a more woodlands, when you think of woodlands, you think of woodlands, Canberra, Sembawang, right? But you think of Springleaf, you still can kind of like think of it from Upper Thomson. In fact, the address is Upper Thomson. So it's a bit more towards the Lentor, Ang Mo Kio side rather than towards the woodlands.
So a more private enclave compared to HDB upgraders area.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, we will move on to the 4-bedroom show flat living type. Okay, one thing consistent is if you were to look at the 2, 3 and 4-bedroom for Springleaf, right? The wall-to-wall distance is almost about the same. So what? Okay, it's a good and bad thing because your 2-bedroom is 3.1 meter. Then you go to your 4-bedroom, right? It's 3.2 meter. Whereas if you go to a 4-bedroom in Canberra Crescent, it's 5 meters. Okay, but personal preference, do you prefer a condo that is longer or is wider? Okay, so far on the ground, my feeling when I speak to clients, they all prefer something that is wider, especially for bigger units.
Yeah, it gives a grander look.
比较大气 when you walk in, because if it's long, it just looks like a corridor.
Yes.
Yeah,
but okay. So to also compare, right, what I also experienced on the ground is that for the newer projects, right, because many of the newer projects these days, the 4-bedder is also like a elongated way.
Correct.
So actually people also appreciate this because with the corridor space demarcating, you have a very, very distinct separation between your living and your dining.
Lentor mentioned. No, is it Lentor Central, the Lentor Modern? You know, when you walk in, 4-bedder or 3-bedder, it's a very long space. Yeah, so that is something. But then again, okay, to me, this is something I feel is not very impressive, but because your 2 and 3 bedroom is really very wide. Then you come to the 4-bedroom, it becomes like, narrow.
So over here, even though I'm a Springleaf supporter, I would say 1227 square feet, 1216 square feet, they are very similar in size. And the way that the developers have built the Canberra show unit, right? They managed to do a landscape layout. They managed to fit in a living and a dining in the same space. You still have a nice, dry kitchen area. You still have a nice study space that is flexi for you to decide how you want to do it. And then you also have a nice enclosable kitchen space, which on paper looks kind of a bit more spacious than the 4-bedroom kitchen area for Springleaf. And then they also have your home shelter. Although personally, I prefer the home shelter to be located in the kitchen area away. And then that space that is currently a home shelter, it would have been fantastic if it was like a powder room. You know, it gives the 4-bedder an elevated kind of feel as well. But having said that, they have already given it to you. The entire living dining area flanks the balcony. Of course, you can do it as well for Springleaf, but you will be sacrificing 1 bedroom. So for Canberra Crescent residences, another thing that they really trump on layout, right, is that if you notice, master bedroom got toilet, the 2-bedroom 2 and bedroom 4, they have
so it's like 2 junior master.
Yeah, there's actually bedroom 2, there's a junior master with full-fledged views. Bedroom 4 also has a junior master, and then only bedroom 3, the bedroom that's adjoining to the master bedroom. This one has the L-shaped wall that you can hack to subsume and make a gigantic master bedroom. Otherwise, it is still usable as a proper bedroom.
4-bed, 3 bath
queen size. And yes, it has actually, not 3 baths, it actually has 3.5 baths because you also have the WC. Whereas for the 4-bedroom at Springleaf, you have a powder room. They managed to do a powder room. And then aside from that, of course, the 3 bedrooms will be sharing 1 common bedroom. Master bedroom has its own master bath with a little walk-in wardrobe kind of concept.
So for family-wise, Canberra Crescent would have the advantage.
We have the advantage in terms of usability space, I would say.
And this is something which in the resale market we meet very often as well. People always say, got use spare, buy one more toilet or what? Actually, it does because this is something for really something for consideration. If it's 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, maybe it's a bit of overkill. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom is fine. But 4-bedroom, the additional
3.5 toilets, I think
really makes
really something
huge difference.
And interesting also to note, right? Because Springleaf is 1227 square feet. Canberra is 1216 square feet. So Canberra is actually smaller than Springleaf. And considering how we are also predicting Canberra's PSF going to be lower than Springleaf, so the overall quantum price as well for Canberra is that it is going to be cheaper than Springleaf.
But I believe the 4-bedroom, I have clients that acquire on the 4-bedroom of Springleaf residences. The profile will be very different from Canberra already. Because for Springleaf residences, my own understanding, Canberra, there's a lot of upgraders. Be it from EC, if you know the area, or HDB. But for Springleaf, there's a lot of downsizing from landed. So this might be just nice for them. Because if I were to compare room size itself, right, as someone that is coming from a landed or bigger unit, the master bedroom for Springleaf residences is really huge. And it has this walk-in closet concept, which Canberra don't have. So Canberra, even the master bedroom, the bathroom is at one corner, which limits the thing you can do to the room, right, in terms of like wardrobe placements and stuff. Because for Springleaf residences, even with the walk-in closet there, you can still have like,
you can probably put a ofin chair,
and stuff like this. So all these it really is different profile type really. So depending on your own profile.
So we have also spoken on the ground, right? Like the Springleaf, when we talk to the Springleaf residences at the landed enclave, they really swear by Springleaf. So you ask them to go and stay Canberra, I'm pretty sure they will not consider it. But when Springleaf, this kind of option comes up, if let's say they right size from their landed into something like a 4-bedder here, maybe because it's a elderly couple who don't want to climb stairs, and it's a bit of an older landed, they don't want to do A&A works to do a private lift inside the landed enclave. They don't need such a big lift. They want single floor plate. Maybe they have one unmarried child or something who is living with them. Then this is really something that would work for them. They don't compromise. They still stay very near what they're familiar with. In fact, now it's also a shorter walk for them to the MRT station, and they stay near to nature. So what's not to give? I would
But that's
say,
true. People that stay in Springleaf just don't want to move out of Springleaf. Or the Thomson area.
Yeah, they don't even want to consider Lentor,
Yeah. I have clients like that also. So they went to view Lentor Central with me, then they say
They wait for Springleaf.
Yeah. They're like, okay, Springleaf. Yeah, okay. And after all this, right, it will be the interesting thing, which is the entry price. So we keep saying that Springleaf is more expensive, but how much more expensive? So from the chart over here, you can see that Upper Thomson Road, Pasir B, which is Springleaf Residences, they bought in at around how much PSF?
905.
905 PSF. Okay, and the estimated break even is 1688. And for Canberra Crescent, they only bought in at 793. And the estimated break even is 1536.
Yeah.
So
150 PSF different.
yeah, 150 PSF difference but we have to look at the quantum play and the floor plan as well, which you mentioned earlier on. So if they purposely built a smaller 2-bedroom, they can actually sell it at Canberra Crescent.
So let's say we do everything equal, right? So Sherwin, let me ask you, if let's say I ask you to pay 150 PSF more to live near to the MRT station, right, and to have an address like Upper Thomson, would that be a good consideration for you, for a good angle, to think about?
Okay, for myself, I wouldn't mind Springleaf.
Yeah.
All else being equal, if the layout is efficient, I really wouldn't mind Springleaf because I like peace and quiet, and I drive. So for me, going to the amenities doesn't matter that much. And nowadays, I use a lot of Grab. Even my grocery shopping is Red Marks. So whatever I want to buy, and I don't cook. That's the thing. So I don't need to be like near supermarket. Everything. So the only thing I might miss is just kopitiam lor. Yeah.
Okay, opposite there's a lot of kopitiam.
Opposite there is a lot but I believe Canberra Crescent would have more lah.
Of course.
So
location wise as well, just to add on, right? Let's say if we look at the future RTS, so for Springleaf, we are looking at about like 3 stations to the future Woodlands stations where the linkage is to RTS. And then if we are looking at going down to Orchard Boulevard, the Brown Line, so it's only about 8 stations to Orchard Boulevard.
But Canberra, is it that far off?
So Canberra is going to be the red line. Yeah, so for the red line, if you notice, it takes the loop. So it's not as straightforward.
Okay.
Plus, of course, if you want to do a healthy walk, you can 800 meters to MRT.
800 meters, that will be around 10 minutes.
For you,
if you run 400 meters, you can run it in maybe 1 minute 30 seconds.
I wouldn't walk in the hot sun. Yeah. So, but Springleaf is fully sheltered. So from the entrance of your development, right, fully sheltered all the way to Springleaf Station, and we actually did a very nice just stroll with the phone timer. Less than 2 minutes.
Less than 2 minutes.
It gets you to the front of the MRT entrance.
So we'll go to how much we think the developer will price. But based on numbers, how much they want to profit from it. So if they were looking at a 20% profit margin, okay, do take note, this might vary based on floor level and developer strategy. So they can start off with even at 1,007 PSF just to get the crowd in and sell 1 or 2 units that are on the lower floor or not as good facing. So that can be done as well. And as they progress to the higher floor, of course, we all know developer will increase floor by floor by $5,000 to $10,000 lah. And with their staging strategy towards the future, you might hit above 2,000, which is not surprising. Okay?
So good news, right? Again, this is hearsay, but don't quote me. But for Springleaf, I heard because developers, this is a new area after untried, untested, right? So developers are very priced to sell, and they are looking to price it very reasonably.
1,004 PS.
At least for the first, 50% to go. So who knows, right? What kind of PSF they are looking at. Potentially even, I would say, some of the larger unit types and some of the lower floor unit types, you may be even looking at, I would say, potentially 1,009.
Well, 1,009 is really quite low.
So to put things into perspective, okay, I'm not saying that they would, it might. We haven't really got the official news yet. So for Canberra, interesting to note also, because Canberra, people always like to compare with their multitudes of ECs around the area. ECs, Visionaire, there's even Stone and all that, right? So they are transacting maybe 1,500, 1,600 PSF. And for Canberra, if we look at the most recent EC, okay, a bit far off on the east side, is already touching 1,800 plus. So I don't think that the developers would price 1,008.
They would price it.
Yeah, cheaper than an EC is a bit weird, right? I think. Yeah, so maybe still 1,008 plus to 1,009 plus. Yeah.
That's where they will be starting off from for the entry price of these two. So like we say, if you view one, just view the other one, then make a decision from there. Yeah, because each have their pros and cons and really depend on your plans in the near future or the far future, how long you want to hold it for. And we'll touch a bit more about rental. Okay, my personal opinion on these two areas, they are not rental area. Yeah, they are more own stay area. But with that said, right, we drop the surrounding rental of the 2 km radius. It's still a healthy 3%, minimally 3% rental returns. So if you look at the Canberra area, you have Canberra residences, 8 courtyards, Candies, Park Canberra, all these. They're going averagely above 3%. Lowest is 2.7 Yeah, Solitaris, I think that way it's really very ulu. And for Springleaf itself, within the 2 km radius, they are also around above 3%. Okay? But Springleaf is unique because if you look at 1 km radius, there's really not much for you to compare from. So my thoughts is, if you want to buy for rental, then just have to be careful because you can get a certain rental yield, just that the volume of transaction might take slightly longer.
Yeah, but at the same time, because of the limited supply and the uniqueness of Springleaf, being like, there are definitely people who values, the privacy. Green and the privacy and the distance to MRT station. Really the distance to MRT station, especially for people who don't drive. And then, you see, if let's say the price point is about the same between the two developments, then let's just say an investor who bought either of these projects and then they will attend TOP probably around the same era, and then they will also put it up for rent around the same era. Most likely, people will compare this because they are both of the same units, and most likely they will want to price about similar, right? So if let's say now I tell you I'm pricing it about a similar price point, but one is so convenient in terms of connectivity, the other may be convenient in terms of
I think connectivity will win out in the long run because for buying food, you can just get it anywhere.
Exactly, right? You can just buy from work. Where you work. You go and take the MRT station. Definitely, there will usually be more heartland malls and all that down there. You can always tapao whatever you need. You can do your groceries with whatever you need, and then you board the train and then you come back home.
So you are more team Springleaf in terms of rental?
I would say in terms of rental, if you look at it from this perspective, unless, of course, I'm saying, if let's say you bought in at Canberra cheaper and you want to rent out Canberra at a slightly cheaper price, then for people who are price sensitive, they would go for Canberra, right? But if let's say all things being equal, you are buying into both 2-bedders, because like we saw the 2-bedders for Springleaf is 646 versus the 2-bedders for Canberra is 667, they are going to be about the same price. So then, are they going to be priced the same in terms of rentability, or can Springleaf actually afford to price it even a bit $100, $200 more for the premium to live in surrounding greenery, very, very nice view, very, very nice facilities, and then close to the MRT station? Yeah, so that's something that I would think.
So the edge will be to Springleaf.
I mean, for me, okay. But I think Sherwin is Team Canberra.
Yeah, okay. So with that being said, these are some of our final thoughts that we consolidated. If you compare Canberra and Springleaf, since the start of the video we've been saying, Canberra is a more upgrader area. There's more mass market facilities. Just by the housing supply itself, you can see the bedroom type. For private housing, Canberra within 2 km, there's so much to choose from.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I would say you have more competition.
Yeah.
But more transaction volume, more competition also drive up property valuation. Okay? People will have more to compare. And when your comparison is with EC, because over there's like Brownstone and a few other ECs, Visionaire. So they will always be slightly cheaper than you. Okay? Whereas for Springleaf itself, if you look at the number of supply over there, it's way, way lower. And within 1 km, there's basically not much. But that being said, Canberra itself is well supported by HDB upgraders as well. And we all know the pools of buyers from the recent years are all HDB upgraders. If you just look at the number of HDB, right, that's one thing. The other thing is the age of the HDB. There's so many that just MOP or haven't even MOP yet.
Especially those around the Canberra Crescent residences itself. There are many HDB clusters there. They are all pretty new.
And if you shift away the Sembawang shipyard and start building, right, they will add
It's also very nearby.
Yeah, another round of HDB upgraders that can push up your pricing in the future. Hence the supply in the area as well. They are well supported lah. And if you look at Springleaf is within 1 km, 2 km, there's no HDB. So it's really a very different profile that we'll be buying into. Springleaf residences.
Of course, I mean, again, I can't stress more because if you really look at the two charts side by side, right? 3 bedders, right? Because we talk about both projects being for own stay purposes, majority. 3 bedders for the Woodlands, Canberra, Sembawang area, you're looking at almost close to 5,000 3-bedroom units. And then if you look at the unit mix for Springleaf, right? 3 bedrooms, only 380. You know, if you look at the HDB enclave, and if you look at even people in the northern sector, there will definitely be people who want to move out of
But it
that
really,
northern sector,
ultimately it's
right?
still...
So how many people do we really need to be interested in, let's say, the Springleaf 3 bedders, right? Because of the sheer smaller numbers. And at the end of the day, I think in Springleaf you have a differentiating product. But in Canberra Crescent residences, do you actually really have a differentiating product? Say, you know, from
USP lah.
Water Gardens, which is quite new, and then Commodore as well, which we are going to touch on. We are going to touch on those as well. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. Yeah,
I think since you mentioned like Commodore and Water Gardens, they do profit lah. They just recently POP this one. The profitability transactions are there. But okay, I wouldn't say they are fantastic profits.
Yes,
because those,
let's be honest. Right?
Those people that bought into other areas, you will see greater profitability in the same span or the same run. Okay, so buying into areas like even Canberra and Springleaf, right? I feel it's really with own stay, not with the intention to flip. Because even if you look at the master plan, there's a lot of residential coming up and a lot of reserve site. But the time taken for it to happen, right? Because you know our government is step by step. It's not today they want to build Woodlands Regional, everything will come up tomorrow. It's how fast and how long it will take to build. So you are guaranteed at a baseline, which is what we have been saying, both are the cheapest in Singapore. 2025, you cannot run away from this already. They are selling at resale condo prices for developed area in OCR. For example, if you look at Tanah Merah, the resale condo, I to talk about the new launch, resale condo is going at 1,900, 2,000 PS every. If you can buy something new at 1,900, 2,000,
exactly,
or lower, and it's a developing area. So the room for growth is there. Just that I wouldn't say you will look at $1 million profit in the next 4 years. A more decent or a more safe estimate will be 200,000-300,000 or 1 to 300,000, which is already happening in Commodore and Water Gardens.
So on this note, right? I mean, somebody asked me this as well, and then I have this to say. So let's just say, like, because we know that typically based on our past experiences and studies, 3-bedroom unit type, let's say for brand new, and then you new launch, and then you later on you flip it, you sell it. Now it's the 4 years SSP, right? So you have a little bit more room for it to grow in terms of pricing. What would your expected 4-bedroom kind of 3-bedroom kind of new launch flipping yield in terms of the quantum, you think?
Oh, you mean for other areas?
Yes, for other areas, still OCR, but for other areas, what do you think is a typical 3-bedroom quantum growth?
Okay, I would say based on what is being projected now in income growth and whatsoever, right? A healthy range, right, will be 400 to 500.
Okay, so let's say we take about 400 lah. Okay, I wouldn't want to overpromise as well. So let's say I take a 3-bedder's profit, because when I do a calculations and predictions for my client, I never want to overpromise. So I also use about 350 to 400k for an estimation. Why? Because seller's stamp duty being 3 years and then now 4 years. Averagely, if let's say we can make, it's also what some of the property gurus say, right? Averagely, if let's say you can make about 100k a year, is considered very okay, So now, if we put things into perspective for these two projects, let's say you are buying, if you are buying a 3-bedroom in OCR today, what is the estimated pricing we are looking at?
Resale?
No, new launch condo at other OCR areas.
I would say
2.1?
minimally 2. I think 2.1 also.
Yeah, 2.1 is also a challenge, right? 2.2 onwards. But today, if let's say you want to enter into a 3-bedder, your budget don't have 2.1, 2.2. Your budget only has maybe 1.8 to 1.9.
Then you buy EC. No, like,
right?
There's an income ceiling.
Potentially, you can do this because at 1,000, let's say if they sell at 1,009 PSF, even to 2,000 PSF, you are buying a 900 square feet 3-bedder. You are buying at sub 2 mil. Right? So if you buy a 2 million, a sub 2 mil 3-bedder in these two projects, and then let's say you flip it later on at 300 plus, let's say about 300. Let's just say about 300. So today, if we are looking at a 1.8-ish kind of price range, we are actually looking at OCR 2-bedders. Will you agree? Yeah, we are looking at OCR 2-bedders, and OCR 2-bedders with the kind of supply that's in the market today, I would say conservatively, I'm estimating the profits to be about 200 plus thousand.
You need to sell at 2 million.
Yeah, 200 plus thousand. So my question to you is, versus other 1.8 million new launch products, and these two products, 1.8 plus 1.9 plus million, and you can get a 3-bedder, which is a better
option, safer entry.
Yeah, a safer, has more audience. Yeah.
I think it boils down to alternative of choice. When I sell my, for example, I sell my HDB or whatsoever, and I want to upgrade, I have a 2 million budget. I will not just look at a specific area, I will look at its surrounding as well.
Yeah.
So when I search 2 million,
most people will not want.
You will not just search 2-bedroom. You will
they
search
want to downgrade to a 2-bedroom. From what I understand from the HDB upgraders.
Typically, this is a safe baseline because you are buying into a 3-bedroom at Glentor 2-bedroom 2 plus is 1.8 million already.
Yes.
Some like 1.9 2 million.
Yes.
You are buying into a 3-bedroom at a 1.8 2 million pricing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we wouldn't say that you will make massive profit for 4 years.
But you wouldn't. Sure, I think there will be profits. You wouldn't be out of pocket.
Correct.
You will definitely be better than even just keeping pace with inflation. Yeah. And in fact, we are just talking about HDB. What about all the ECs, upgraders who have cashed out their pot of gold? Yeah, with even not say $1 million, let's say even the smaller 3-bedroom entry level, they are making 600,000 to 700,000 profits quite easily, because we were just doing this also for our clients, for ECs as well, when we considered place previously. So when we look at the west side ECs, people are cashing out easily entry level 3-bedders, 700k profits. So with 700k profits plus their own cash reserves, their own monies that they are sinking to this EC originally, plus the CPF that they sunk into that, I would say they can even potentially look at 4-bedder prices. 4-bedder.
So it's always a step up instead of I have a 3-bedroom EC, then I come and buy a 2-bedroom condo.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like a compact 3-bedroom in other OCR areas.
So you are saying that those that buy in Lentor 2-bedroom, they...
No. I have many clients who bought Lentor 2-bedroom also. No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, for that being said, right, if you look at the whole master plan, there's still a lot of land in these two areas that are being sold progressively. It's just a matter of when. And there's a lot of yellow sites, which are reserve sites, waiting to be triggered as well. And the final question for this will still boil down to, what would you buy? Canberra or Springleaf? Like, in today's context, since we all both that this is going to be the cheapest, what would you buy?
So I would definitely pick Springleaf, right? Because I think without a doubt, majority of Singaporeans value MRT station.
2 bedroom, 3 bedroom,
And,
or 4 bedroom.
For the price point that today clientele they are very comfortable with, 1.8 to 2 million range, I would definitely go for a 3 bedroom. Yeah. So like let's say I have 1.8 to 2 million dollars and I want to find something to invest in, and then other products I have is only a 2 bedroom option versus these two I can enter in a 3 bedroom option. I'm very passionate about it. I think I would safely go for a 3 bedroom option type because even at a homestay stage, homestay purpose, I will still have a crowd to want to buy into my 3 bedroom.
Because it's,
Yeah, because for own-stay purposes, for 2 bedder, it's a bit more investment-centric, and then would the investors really go for the 2 bedders and think that they can get good rental yield from that? I think that's still arguable, because when you are connected to an MRT station so close by, it's not difficult for people to get to work, whether it's the northern side or even the southern side. And we have talked about the northern transformation, the northern gateway. You definitely have a lot of workforce there who can consider all these as their alternatives. If they're going to take a train anyway to work, right? What's the difference between taking one more station and one less station?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's me. Yeah, Springleaf.
Actually, I share the same thoughts as you. If I were to buy, it's just based on my personal preference. Okay, both of them, I just did a quick calculation. If they are going to launch it, even if for the 2 bedroom itself, if they're going to launch at like 2002 PSF, if like you say Springleaf, there's a 592 square feet, it's only going to be 1.3 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's only going to be 1.3 million.
Yeah, for
and there are other areas where they're selling 1 bedroom, 1 bath at 1.3 million already.
Exactly, right? Even 1.4 million.
Yeah, for a 1 bedder. So if I can buy a 2 bedroom at this price, but because I really prefer the view, okay, I will go for that. But for a 4 bedroom, if I were to think from a more family perspective,
More usability,
right? And price sensitive. I feel Canberra Crescent, the 4 bedroom will be cheaper. Okay, but all in all, with that being said, like you, I also prefer Springleaf, but maybe because of our personality as well.
Yeah,
this is something.
I think it's also the clients we serve, because I personally encountered quite a few clients who tells me that they don't want to stay facing concrete jungle. Yeah, like it's already such a high stress environment in today's work life that they really just want to come home to something that they can relax in.
Peace and quiet.
Yeah, it's really peace and quiet. It's very tranquil. Yeah, so that's something that it's not easy to find, right? Because most condos now, you look out, look left, look right, you definitely will see building somewhere. Yeah,
So it doesn't feel like, firstly, it doesn't really feel like an upgrade, not like a private area. Yeah, you are just going to a gated community. So both of us are team Springleaf, but same lah. I would be either going for a 2 or 3 bedroom in Springleaf just because if pricing affordability allow, I will go for the 3 bedroom around, I would say 1.8 2 million is safe. If
but
not,
you're starting out, right?
if I'm starting out, 2 bedroom will be my go-to lah. 1 bedroom is very subjective.
But not much to talk about for both.
Yeah, because there's only like 8 units and 3 units. So now it's luck already. But that will be, PSF will be higher lah. How big is the size?
Quite small actually for the one.
We don't even have the floor plan yet. But if we were to go to the size, I would say it's 3A square feet lah. So 3A, if they sell at 2005 PSF, it's below 1 million. At 2005 lah. Yeah, it's a good.
Not many people. Singles.
And you like the area. But
and you like the feel of living in the school compound.
But for me, I'm not really a huge fan of 1 bedroom lah. So minimally, I'll buy a 2 bed 2 bath. Be it for own stay wise or what. 2 and 3 will be Springleaf. But 4 bedroom, I will still compare the pricing of Canberra Crescent.
Canberra Crescent seems to make more sense in terms of pricing.
And Springleaf Residences. I'll compare both and I will see whether that premium is worth paying for Springleaf lah. So like I said, all those that are buying for Springleaf, typically they don't need the additional 3 bedroom. The 3rd bathroom, sorry, not bedroom. And it require a bigger master bedroom space. So that's an end client because the 4 bedroom, the first 3 bedroom don't matter. It's maybe for their kids to visit or whatsoever, but the 4th bedroom do matter. But for Canberra Residences wise, the toilet do matter. So profile is very important. But
Springleaf, sorry to interrupt, but Springleaf, one thing that's very nice I saw also, they're actually doing a herringbone style vinyl floor. Yeah, it's a side point.
yeah, that is more emotional. Go in and
Yeah.
see, they stack, then looks very nice lah.
Yeah.
有层次感. Yeah, okay. So that's it for our video today, our comparison. If you want a more detailed analysis, right, do reach out to us and we can give you advice based on your needs and your portfolio.
Very neutral advice
Yeah.
based on your requirements, what your plan is, because investment perspective and own
stay
perspective
perspective.
is really very different, and then budget wise as well, what makes sense, what doesn't.
Yeah, so these are the dates for the preview for Canberra Residences and Springleaf. If you're keen to visit both and have a comparison, just reach out to either Jason or me. Our contact details are down below.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just
for
a
the video.
tour. Also, we are happy to entertain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thank you.